Welcome to Financial Clarity, the podcast dedicated to helping service-based small business owners achieve financial success. Join us as we demystify financial concepts, get practical tips from seasoned entrepreneurs, and discover strategies to increase profit and value. Hannah Smolitsky here. I'm the host of the Financial Clarity podcast, where I connect successful entrepreneurs, financial experts, and leaders in the small business community. Past guests include Mallory Ulazik, the co-founder of a full-service website agency that developed a way to deliver a quality website in 1 week with their industry-defying process. And Melina Palmer, the founder of The Brainy Business, where she uses her education in behavioral economics to teach businesses how to apply behavioral economics to increase their reach and revenue. So if either of those episodes sounds interesting, you can go and check those out on your favorite podcast app. Today's episode is brought to you by my company, Clara CFO Group. Clara CFO is dedicated to providing financial clarity and profit maximizing solutions to small businesses. The team at Clara CFO are seasoned accounting professionals with a heart for small business. We help growth-minded entrepreneurs thrive through fractional CFO services and financial education. To learn more about Clara CFO Group and how we can help your business, visit claracfo.com. Today's guest is a longtime friend of mine and someone that I absolutely adore. We were originally introduced through some local networking here in the Seattle area, as well as some online communities. And I believe it was an event hosted by Kara McCaig, where we first met. Kara runs Pepper's Personal Assistants here in Seattle, and they match busy households with amazing personal assistants to help families make time for what matters most. If you want to learn more about Pepper's Personal Assistant for services both in Seattle and outside of Seattle now, go to paseattle.com. Today's guest is Sara Kappler. Sara is the founder of and CEO of Centric Squared, a CRM-driven agency specializing in email and SMS marketing. She fiercely believes that listening to and learning from your customers drives growth, and her high-performing marketing campaigns for clients in finance, e-commerce, and online businesses prove it. This mom of three and recent transplant from Seattle to Germany calls herself a business growth partner, committed to the success of her clients and to enjoying a high-caliber professional and innovative team. Sara, thank you for being on Financial Clarity.
Hannah, thank you so much for having me and for that nice intro.
Yes. Well, I actually got to visit Sara in Germany this summer.
Our first visitor, kind of a big deal.
It was so amazing to see you, and just reconnect in person, but also just to be able to get a glimpse of your life in another country was just so wild and wonderful. And we're going to get into your journey to Germany. And I'm very excited to ask you some questions about it. But before we do that, can you tell everybody of how you got to becoming a business owner first?
Sure, absolutely. So my journey to running this agency was like many stories, kind of haphazard. I stumbled onto it. I had been living and working in Switzerland and in the kind of digital consulting space for about 10 years. Then I had my son, then we moved to Seattle. I had a 6-month-old and I was settling us in and looking at jobs, and like so many women in that position, I realized that I really needed something flexible and maybe I should try freelancing. So I started CRM consulting, as one does, as I do, because it's nerdy and it's wonderful. And actually, Kara was one of my very first clients, speaking of a shout out. So yeah, she believed in me back in the day, and that meant a lot to me. It still does. So I started CRM consulting, and over time, that just really naturally transitioned to an email marketing agency, because why do you care about CRM? One of the biggest reasons is to be able to communicate with people, at scale with email. So it was a really natural transition. And I've been doing that for 7 years, and here I am.
Yeah. Well, and yes, here you are. But yeah, it's definitely been like a journey along the way. You were by yourself for a while.
Yes.
And then when did you start bringing on team members to help?
Pretty early on. I've always worked well with teams, and it's project managing technical projects. And so I always had, a web developer that I could call, or kind of occasional contractors, project-based contractors I'd say even in that first year, I was working with people. But it was really when I kind of grew the email side of the business that the team, grew significantly.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So we're about 12 people now on the team.
Yeah, great. I love it. What are some of the biggest pain points that customers are coming to you with when they reach out to you?
Yeah, good question. So one of the big ones nowadays is email deliverability. My email is landing in spam. What can I do? You probably have followed a lot of the deliverability topics for Gmail and Yahoo. They're changing their requirements and it's getting more technical. And so a lot of companies are reaching out and saying, can you help us? So that's an easy fix, easy project for us. We definitely do that and do that well. Another one is transitioning CRMs. Like, I need a new CRM. Which one do I choose? Am I in the right system for what I want to achieve? That kind of consulting piece is still it's a big challenge for business owners. You don't know what you don't know, and you either inherited a system or you listen to some advice somewhere and you find yourself in a system, and at some point you're going, is this really the right one? Like, let me just get an external point of view and perspective on it. So making sure that businesses are matched, with the systems that are going to help them grow.
Yeah. I imagine there's not a one size fits all in the CRM.
Unfortunately not. Wouldn't that be easy? Gosh.
Because I was going to say, I bet you're not going to give me one name of one company that you love, although I'm
going to say it depends. You know me. No, there's a number of front runners, and I always tell clients the CRM that works for you is the one that you'll use.
Right.
Number one, right? And you can see people make MailChimp work, or whatever systems they're using. But the ones that we partner with in our agency are Klaviyo and HubSpot. So those tend to be the ones, not every business, but many business, especially those looking for ongoing support, implementing their email strategies. Those are going to be the ones we recommend.
Mm-hmm. Would you consider Klaviyo a CRM?
Yes.
Does it track like deal pipeline and things like that? Or is it mostly just,
No.
I mean, I'm thinking about it more as like email, an email system.
It is more of an email tool, but when you think about e-commerce businesses and their sales process, like all that is, events and online and immediate. And so it is a CRM for e-commerce businesses because it will tell you who's purchased and, where your leads are, who's likely to purchase, and all these things just at scale. So I would consider it a CRM, but it's not a service-based business tool like HubSpot that'll show you a pretty little pipeline that you can, work in. I don't know. Do you know HubSpot at all?
Yeah, actually, a couple of our clients are using HubSpot at this point, and we work with a lot of service-based businesses, mostly. A little teeny one little e-commerce client at this point. Not little, but yes, so HubSpot is kind of rising to the top of the preference there. We are finding that people do tend to hire somebody to help them actually implement HubSpot because it's maybe a little bit more challenging to do on your own. Maybe not as easy as plug and play as maybe some other things, but it does seem to be pretty powerful overall.
Yeah, so it is. It's a great choice for service-based businesses. We use it as well in our agency, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I need a new CRM solution.
No, we can talk.
Yes, I always know who I can ask with my CRM questions. Okay, so you help people grow. So what does that look like? How are your clients trying to grow? Are you helping them get leads? Are you helping them get actual customers? Like, what is the goal when they're coming to you and they're working with you, and what can you actually help them with?
Yeah, that's good. I'm trying to think of, we have a couple different scenarios, but let me zoom out. So The clients who come to us, they know that there's value in their relationships with their customers. That's a given. And they want to tap into that. They don't know how. They don't know what their customers want. They don't know what the data wants. We're a very analytics driven agency. Centric Squared actually comes from data centric, customer centric. That's how nerdy I am. It's centric with a little 2 next to it. Anyway, but so, they come to us and they know that the customer relationships have value. They want to tap into it. And one of the first things we do is kind of an assessment or an audit of their data. Like, what do we know? How many customers do you have? And even just putting numbers to their kind of baseline starting point during the process. So I do have an analytics background. During the process, we try to present the clients with information that's going to be useful. So we help the clients identify segments. Is it geographical? Is it based on purchase history? Is it like, we come at the end of it and we say, here's what we see. You're sitting on not just 1,000 customers, but did you know that 97% of them are coming in with this product? Like, we try to paint a picture for them of their customers. And with that picture, we present to them strategies that they can use to maximize. Most of our clients, they want to maximize their customer lifetime value, right? And they want to keep those relationships, build those relationships. And so sometimes it's cross-selling, if you're talking e-commerce, or upselling, or repurchase, replenishment, right? Oh, you're out of this product. Is it time to get another? These kind of touch points that you can add in to really extend that customer lifetime value. In service-based businesses, it might look a little different, but it's the same theory. It's, touching base with past customers, right? And asking them how things are going, checking in. And it's harder to do that as you grow. So that customer lifetime value, kind of keeping customers, expanding, kind of expanding the depth of that relationship with a customer is a huge piece of email marketing. We also help customers with their lead capture, whether that's an opt-in on your site or training teams on how to enter business cards of people they met, however people are kind of coming into the system, kind of warming them up and kind of building that brand awareness to who you are, what you do. So we work on both sides, I'd say, but customer lifetime value is certainly, retention. I'm sure you've heard this. Retention is the new acquisition, right? Like keeping customers long-term is top of mind for a lot of our business owners. And then I'd say, understanding their customers helps them devise really smart strategies.
Yeah, that's great. There's like a gold mine of information in a lot of these companies that have, made sales over the years, and you're kind of helping them tap into that even further. And then also think about what that, retention, but also like the next acquisition strategy too, of what, who else you should be going after. I think that's really helpful. And it's okay. So you have moved across the world from Seattle to Germany.
How about that? I did, didn't I?
You did. You're not here anymore. What time is it there?
Couple more gray hairs. Yeah, it's evening over here. It's 9 p.m.
Okay. Yeah. Over here it is just past noon. So, so with that, you have always worked with a fully remote team. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So did that
at a physical location because somebody told me it was really good advice not to have too much overhead. So no, I'm just kidding. You told me that early on.
That's
did.
Why I'm Hey. Yeah. So, so was that a big part of being able to even think about a potential move?
Absolutely. I'd had this business for 7 years. I had 2 more children, while running this business. So I'm no stranger to maternity planning and, who's going to take care of operations for, whatever, 3 months or however long I'm really off. And certainly when we're talking about, the move to Germany, it was like, well, I mean, I can work from anywhere, right? I mean, that's what I've been doing. We've taken long trips and visits to Germany before, and how different would it really be to do that full time? Mm-hmm. So I'm in a business that would lend itself to working anywhere. That's not to say we didn't have to change a million things to make this work, but
right.
But in theory, there's nothing binding me, to the US.
Yeah. And you guys have international contractors that you work with as well, too. So they're not.
We do. About half of our team is in the U.S. and half of our team is abroad. So we're kind of straddled. We play the time zone game every day, right? So we're used to kind of the scheduling constraints. Now, all of our clients are currently in the U.S. And so some Eastern time zone, some on Pacific time zone. But so the biggest concern with the move was, are we going to have enough overlap with our clients to maintain the level of service, that we offer? So, for example, our ongoing clients have, sometimes every 2 weeks we're checking in with them to develop campaigns or support them with their CRM setup or whatever. So how would that look? Is it gonna be an issue? So that was, I'd say, my biggest concern was, are the clients going to be okay with shifting their schedules? Because they're going to have to meet in the morning now. I can't do a 4 p.m. Pacific time because I'm sound asleep.
Yeah.
So, but thankfully that was a non-issue.
Yeah, that's so good. Well, and that's, I mean, it's almost like good to do it maybe before you scale to 2 or 3 times the size as well, where it's like, hey, we have these existing clients, we already have existing relationships. I'm sure we can probably make some modifications.
Yeah.
Okay. So what were some of the factors that you guys were considering before the move? And what were some of the draws of moving to Germany?
Like personal. So my husband's German, number one. Obviously he has family here. I think when COVID hit, we had 2 kids at home at the time, and little kids at home, COVID, were like, why are we an ocean away from people with helping hands again? Like, so we've been thinking about it for a while. The ages of our kids, my oldest son is 9, and the way the school system here works is it kind of branches out earlier. It branches out, meaning I think it's 5th grade, you make the first decision. Are you going on this track or this track? And then later on, 8th grade, it branches again. And so I knew that if we were going to move and go to German schools and have to pick up a language, we wanted to go early enough that our kids have the best chance, to find their calling, right? And not get lumped into a track just based on language, language acquisition. So we had like a ticking clock, and it was like, well, if we're going to do it, let's do it now. But no, it was hard. I mean, I'm American too. And I think it boiled down to, we both wanted our kids to have a childhood kind of like we had. And I grew up in Europe too, more than we wanted the American dream, and it's not like it was black and white and, oh my gosh, obviously, like there's so many wonderful things about our home and our family and our friends. But it was like one with like a little bit more, and
yeah.
And then with the ticking clock, we're like, it's now or never. So we're going to do this or not. So, okay, let's go. Let's do it.
You did it. Oh my gosh. And for anybody who is wanting to learn more kind of about that decision and the big steps, you've got a blog post that you're going to be posting
Yes.
soon, and it will probably be posted by the time this episode goes out. So we'll try to link that for sure so people can read more, because I think your journey is really interesting, and just the decision-making process, you really break it down. So you were so analytical. I mean, you were data-driven. You're data-driven in life and or in business and in life. And so, there were a lot of factors that went into that. It certainly wasn't taken lightly.
No, it was not a spontaneous decision.
Yeah. I mean, I remember talking to you about it a couple years before, where you're like, oh, this is the thing we're considering. And then, COVID maybe accelerated some of that. And then really like thinking about it logistically was like a whole different challenge. So, anybody who's making a big decision, I feel like there's, usually stages to it. So I want to know, was there anything that you were fearful about in the move that ended up just really not being an issue that you thought it was going to be, or something that you didn't think was going to be an issue that actually became kind of a big issue?
Yeah. So definitely the clients, we're a smaller agency. We're talking, a dozen clients, right? This isn't thousands of clients, but still, we have really good relationships with them, really close relationships with them. And as soon as I decided, my biggest fear is like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to tell them, I hope the conversation goes well. Like, I hope they know that it's going to be okay. And so that was my biggest concern, was their reaction. We're always transparent with our clients. I'm always transparent in general. And so the conversation went something like, I've known you for years. You know my life. We've decided to move to Germany for personal reasons. Here's what that means for our working relationship. We're going to have to shift our calls to 10 a.m. instead of 3 p.m. And you're going to have another point person in case there's emergencies. And we kind of mapped it out that way. And honestly, every single client stayed on. Yeah. Nobody left. And, I was the first one to say, if you have any concerns, if it's not working out, just let us know. Like, we don't want to put you in a bad spot at all. We think it's possible. If you see signs that it's not, let's just have an open conversation about it, and we'll help you either transition to another agency or move some functions in-house, And not a single person did that. So that was definitely my biggest fear. And of course, once you, know that your clients are on board, it really gives you a lot more stability. I was like, oh, thank goodness, we're going to be okay. This isn't going to crumble. So that was my biggest fear, and it turned out to be a non-issue. And I was so relieved. And still I'm heartwarmed by the reaction. And then what was an issue that I didn't think about? That's a really good question. I think the administration side of it, we had to change our billing address, and I had to get a mail service, and this little thing, it's like forever. I'm like I'm like 9 months in, and we're still having issues with like changing our address on certain accounts, and that little admin side I definitely underestimated, and it's obnoxious, and it's hard when you're not there.
Yeah.
Just to pick up a letter and put a stamp on it, and those little things that were like, gosh, that would be convenient, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can imagine they probably just keep popping up too. Like, oh, that's another thing I didn't foresee, this tiny little detail, and well, it's really good to hear about the clients. How early did you tell clients before you moved? I'm curious.
As early as I could. I mean, I think we made the decision, I think in January, and I think by mid-March, we had told everybody, and we weren't moving until summer, July, August. So we gave everybody 4 or 5 months. As soon as we'd made an offer on a house and it felt real, that's when we told clients. Yeah.
Did you go ahead and start transitioning that point person? Like, did you go ahead and start the movement
Yes.
in that direction? Okay, that makes sense.
It was like all systems go.
Mhm.
We had people shadowing on calls and accounts, and from the early stages. And I actually stepped out a little bit earlier because I wasn't needed on everything anymore, which gave me some time to like pack. So
Oh, move your life across the
yeah,
world.
move
Yeah.
my life. Yeah.
And your whole family,
Yeah.
not just you.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think I have found, and there's whole science around like change management and things like that, but with client service in particular, it seems to be, if you can be as in front of it as possible
Yeah.
and also communicate that, like, what it means for the client,
Yes.
like not so much. I mean, yeah, I think clients are generally, when we have good relationships with them, they're happy for us, but they also want to know, what does it mean for them and how does it
Yeah.
affect their
Of
working
course.
relationship? So being really upfront about that seems like it'll make it more successful. And that's in anything. I mean, we're going through some transitions right now with changes of CFOs and stuff like that. So as soon as we know about that, we want to make sure that that's communicated. And
Absolutely.
it helps people absorb it, and they feel like they're being thought about,
Yeah.
and like that
And
they're
process it
cared
and
for.
like think
Yeah.
of concerns they might have, like, I don't know. We have clients where there's some things we're doing quarterly for them, and it's like that cycle's not going to come up again for another 3 months. So they're not going to be thinking about it for another 3 months. So if we can give them more time, then they'll have that, like those operation pieces to draw on.
Yeah. Okay, I want to ask a few questions about your agency and
Sure.
get a little bit more into the data. Let's get into the data.
Do it.
What are some of the metrics and numbers that you pay attention to in running the business?
There's quite a few. I can swim in data all day long, and I do, in fact. I'd say profitability is a really big one. So margins, and to get to that, it's hours and time. We're a service-based business. Everybody has to track their hours.
What do you use for time tracking?
We use a type form that feeds into a Google sheet
Okay.
that has some really nerdy formulas on it to then feed into how much are we paying our team to service this client versus how much we're making. And so we have our eye pretty much every 2 weeks, whenever everyone has to fill out this form, pretty much live. It's really important. We look at it all the time. I always tell the team, like, we're never, examining somebody's hours under a microscope. Like, what did you spend time on? Like, I've never not paid somebody for time spent ever, my entire career. We're just trying to stay ahead of it, because if you can spot like scope creep early on, or somebody going down a wormhole early on, it's going to help you course correct, and it's going to help you stay at the margins. We all need to be at the margins to have jobs, right? So it's definitely the most important thing that we track to run our business. We keep a tight watch on our expenses too. There's a lot of software we're using for our clients to deliver email at the quality and at the level we're doing, an analytics software and things like that. So we're definitely watching those expenses pretty closely, and always kind of assessing. I'd say quarterly, we're assessing, like, what exactly do we need here? Because they're expensive. They add up real quick.
Yeah, for sure. Any type of operational metrics that you pay attention to?
Operational, like how?
Anything non-financial that you're tracking?
Oh, so yeah, one of my favorite metrics is how long our clients stay with us and how long our team members stay with us. So we make a big deal of retention. Yeah. Isn't that funny? A marketing agency focused on retention. No, but that's a big one for us. We're over 24 months now is our average, client length. It's definitely a long-term thing.
Mhm.
So I'm proud of that one. And then our team, gosh, we just celebrated a few 4-year anniversaries. What? How do I have people on the team for 4 years? I know. It's like, they're like my family. Well, no, I don't like that term in business, but I mean, I'm so close to them and I've worked with them so much that it's really special. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's a commitment both ways. And to be wanting to be working with those people for that long is great.
Still like each other.
Yeah. Still works on both sides.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you tell us a little bit about your revenue model, like how you actually bill clients and what that looks like? Are you on retainer packages?
Yeah, sure.
Like, what do you do?
So most of our clients start off with some kind of an assessment or an audit, which is a one-off cost, pretty minimal in terms of the value they get for it, to be honest. Based on that, we have projects, whether it's a CRM migration project or an email deliverability rescue or any of those types of projects. Those would be one-off, and really loosely, it's based on time, right? That's our model. So even though it's not exactly, you get 100 hours, like
Right.
we tend to frame it in terms of the deliverables, but on the back end, of course, we're looking at, who's going to do this? How much time is it going to take? Can we deliver this? So on the back end, it's time. And then our monthly clients are on retainer. It's usually number of emails, number of SMSs, and then we do something called flow maintenance. So if they have like really complex journeys or automations, we maintain them. And that means we're switching out creative, we're A/B testing, we're kind of keeping them fresh and performing and higher converting over time, optimizing them. So there'll be a kind of a line item for that. So our clients are all on those types of retainers where the deliverables are really clear. And then our, I'd say our service, which is our monthly calls, our analytics, the strategy, the marketing plan, that's just kind of all roped into our process, if that makes sense. That's not line itemized for anything. That's just how we work. So that's just roped in.
Yeah. So, okay, that makes sense. And so then you have like that ongoing support for what the clients need month in, month out. And
yes, and we have our regular calls and we plan and strategize together based on the data. We do a lot of analytics ongoing. And then they sit back and we run their email for them. And actually, I mean, Hannah, you'll appreciate this, but one of the reasons I like became an email marketing agency is because it's so easy to talk about ROI.
Yeah.
So many marketing agencies, or I'd say different field, shy away from that, like social media marketing. It's like this vague thing, or building brand awareness, all these things that are kind of hard to measure.
Yeah.
But when you're in the CRM and you've set up the CRM, you set up the integrations, like we're so data focused that our conversations go something like, this month, we made you $100,000. Like, next month, let's aim for 115. And I think we can reach that if we do these 4 things. It's such an easy conversation that, that the kind of, the whole process is awesome. Honestly, I just love the transparency around email.
I appreciate that as CFO because I mean, I was just in a call yesterday with a client spending $20,000 a month on Google ads. And I am like, where's the ROI? It's like not very apparent. And it makes it can ruffle my feathers not being able to see the actual what is coming for this, like this marketing investment. We want to see dollars coming back. And I understand there's not always going to be easy to track it 100%, but I did notice on your website, you actually have some metrics down at the bottom and you have like total revenue added to your clients, which I think is cool, like super cool that you can, accumulate that and actually post it. And
we do. That's how much tracking we do. Thank you for noticing that. We're really proud of that number. 2023 was a really good year, incidentally.
Yeah. That's awesome. Which is actually really good. We had Greg Crabtree on the podcast a couple episodes ago, and he was talking about the 2023 trends and how by and large, most small businesses saw a shrinkage of their business in 2023, lower revenues, and mostly in discretionary spending. So, and it sounds like you work with e-commerce companies a good bit where that is very, very discretionary sometimes when it comes to shopping and things like that. So the fact that, you're able to like add revenue in times where even things are not looking great generally in the industries is huge. So
email is a really smart investment if you have marketing dollars. And if you have a list or a customer base or something to start with, it's hard to get started. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If you've got zero, it's going to take a while to build up. But once you do, honestly, it's it's clever.
Yeah, I like that. A lot of good data or a lot of good technology too to help support that. Okay, I would like to know, what mindsets do you think you've had to overcome in order to build your company to where it is now? Both from a, size and impact place, but also just in a place for you to be able to pull back and not need to be in control of every single client.
Pulling back wasn't a huge challenge because I'm so nerdy and everything is dashboards and metrics. So it's very easy to empower the team when you're giving them such good visibility, into the direction of the account and stuff like that. So that one was okay. But in terms of mindset, I remember one of the really early conversations was around sales. I was like a CRM consultant. I was doing project here, project there, my first year of business. And someone said, "Oh, you really just need to cold call to like make sales." And I'm like, "Oh my God, cold call. I can't do this. Like, do you know me? I'm the opposite of interested in cold calling for fun. Like, how are we going to do this?" And I was really sure that I would fail at business because I would not see myself picking up a phone and cold calling. And then I think I was listening to Nikki Rausch. We have to give her a shout out. She had some podcast or something, and she said, "That's nonsense. All you have to do is just listen and solve problems," And I was like, oh, I do that all day long. No problem. Like, that's easy for me. I can do that. And I definitely shifted from this sales as this kind of sleazy thing to, I just want to see if I can help you. What's your problem exactly? Oh no, I'm not the right person for you. You know who is? This person over here. I'm the first one to do that. And that was a really big one in the growth of the business in those early years. And it took a lot of the fear and anxiety out of the equation for me. How are you with sales? Do you have that same?
Oh yeah, no, I would never cold call. Like I couldn't even sell Girl Scout cookies to strangers. Like I was a brownie, and I'm sure I had some kind of like, cookie quota that I guess like if you grew up in Switzerland, you didn't get subjected to the Girl Scout, like being a Girl Scout and selling cookies. But there's always like a quota. My daughter's going through it right now. She loves it though. But yeah, I couldn't even sell cookies to like my dad's business, like at my dad's business with his employees. I couldn't talk to strangers. I can't imagine. I never thought I would be selling as a big part of my job. But I do think that the mindset of selling is serving is helpful, which sounds exactly like what you're saying. It's like, that thought that if I have something that can help this person, it's actually a disservice for me not to tell them about it if they're actually looking for a solution. Now, if they're not looking for a solution, you don't want to just go blasting people with like, I have solutions for your problems. Like there's, there's ways to do that well. But when people are reaching out and they're, looking for something, like you hear these problems, you're like, I know exactly things that we can do that could help you. That is so authentic. And for anybody who's looking for that kind of more authentic approach to selling, go and check out our episode with Nikki Roush, who was a couple months ago on the podcast. And she has a fantastic podcast as well. Is it called The Sales Maven? What
Sales Maven? Sales Maven?
Sales Maven.
I think
so. It might be called the Sales Maven podcast.
Mm-hmm.
She's the Sales Maven, but Nikki Roush, and we'll link it in the show notes. But yes, I think that's huge because if I would never cold call.
Yeah. No, that was a really big one. And then, mindset too for, we have a remote team, completely global. I started this business to have flexibility. Everybody on this team has flexibility. That's one of our, guiding principles here. I don't want anyone to have a job that, that sucks, to be honest with you. Like everybody should enjoy their work and have the autonomy to do it whenever they want to and not, have to call in sick or the kids are sick. I mean, like we don't do that, right? Everybody just manages their work. And to get to the place where people can have that kind of autonomy, there's a pretty lengthy, I'd say, onboarding and expectation setting phase for team members now that we have, and then we have systems. We live in our project management tool and in Slack, and I don't think that would be possible without those types of systems and the type of culture like this. This is the process. This is how you do it. Now you go and manage it, and if things shift, you're responsible for shifting it. And this is, and kind of making sure that everybody understands the expectations, especially in our world. I mean, email marketing takes a lot of people and a lot of eyes to get campaigns out into the world. You've got the idea, you've got the copy, you've got the design, you've got the build of it, you've got the QA, you've got the coupon code behind the scenes, you've got the landing. There's like 10 parts that need to come together. And so we can't, it all has to pass pretty fluidly. We call it pass the baton, like it has to happen. So to have the flexibility when it's not just one person in a silo working on their one piece, it's very much teamwork. Mm-hmm. It's tricky. And we do have to, rely on some great systems and some strong training, to make sure it works. Yeah, but it's worked beautifully. And, I don't know. I don't know if that's a mindset shift. I guess in a perfect world, I wouldn't use a project management tool at all. It would just be in my head. But for the benefit of this business, here I am.
Yeah, I think it's probably better that it's shared across, and everybody knows what they're responsible for and have the accountability of doing the thing and checking the thing off so that I can move to the next person. Yes. So it sounds like what you've built is really great. It sounds like there's some built-in accountability there, which is fantastic.
Exactly. And visibility is really big.
Yeah.
I think, we do a lot of small things to make sure that everybody knows where things are at. Like I always hated that when I was in a previous consulting roles. It was like the sales team was over here, selling something. And then, when everything got buttoned up, it would just kind of land on the delivery team. Like, here you go. Here's something for you to do. And there was like no talking. Like, I remember having projects that like were not technically possible. Like, I don't know who sold this. This is not like, this was before Starlink. And it was like, we had one project for an international company that was like, their global team of field workers in South Sudan need to be able to take this in real time and report back to a centralized. And we're like, what? Who sold this?
Oh, no.
Like, where's Elon Musk? This was years before Starlink existed. Anyways, but I always hated that disconnect. And so now what I really like about our team is everything is fluid. We're, we have a potential project. Hey, does this look realistic? And not just technically, is it possible? Like, what's your workload like? Can you take this on? Is this, we're thinking about proposing to do this step in this week. Does that work with you? Oh, your kids are on spring break. All right, let's start the week after.
Yeah.
Like we'll make it work. We'll make it work. But I think that having a small team and being wearing so many hats really is to the benefit. I think it's harder when projects come in that are a big challenge or badly scoped.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Sara, I feel like, I know we could talk for a long time because I stayed with you for like 6 days and we talked like most of the time, but which is lovely. And I can't wait to visit again. But I have one last question for you before I wrap up. I want to make sure that I point people to your website. Okay. And people can check out those metrics that I mentioned. I'm not even going to tell you what they are, so people can be curious and go and look at your website. It is Centric Squared, all written out, .com, centricsquared.com. And we will also put that in the show notes. But the last question I have for you is, what is next up on your reading list?
What is next up on my reading list? So I just ordered a book. I'm kind of embarrassed to say it. Can I tell you?
Yeah.
How to become a millionaire when you live overseas, or millionaire expat. The Millionaire Expat, I think it's called. And it's about financial investing for personal, comfort. I haven't done a great job retirement planning my last 10 years with the 3 kids and COVID and the business. And it's on my bucket list to do a better job.
You didn't have other priorities? You didn't have childcare costs out the wazoo?
Shocking. I know. Actually, in Germany, that has definitely gone down. That's been kind of mind-blowing to think of how affordable childcare is now. And that actually, I know we're wrapping up, but that was one of the factors in the decision. Absolutely. And the timing of this move. We're like, well, if we're going to move, we might as well go when here we are with 3 little kids. That was a factor. But so retirement planning is on my bucket list this year.
You are not alone in being a business owner and having retirement be be something that they haven't gotten to yet. That is very, very, very common. And on the YouTube channel, I've been trying to do more videos about personal finance for specifically business owners. I just also ordered 3 personal finance books. I love personal finance books, but it seems to be. There's oftentimes like a real focus on like, well, I'll just build the value of my business and my business will be my retirement. But we can't guarantee what's going to happen in the future of our businesses. Absolutely. But so I'm a big proponent and fan of building the business to fund your ability to also save for your retirement, whether that means like putting in, retirement into your actual business, like having, 401k for you and your employees, or figuring out some solo 401k options or IRAs or things, but generating enough cash flow so that you can bring home money and make sure that gets invested is huge. So good for you. Thank you.
I'll report back.
It's a great step in the right direction. So, well, Sara, how else can people get in touch with you?
So my website's great. I'm on LinkedIn too. I'm also, I think we have an Instagram account, but I don't check it that often. So LinkedIn is probably the best way. Sara Kappler, Centric Squared. I'd be happy to make some connections. And thank you so much for having me on this podcast, Hannah. You do such a good job.
Oh, thank you. Oh, Sara, so good to talk to you today.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being on Financial Clarity, and we'll talk again very soon.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Financial Clarity Podcast. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about today's episode and click subscribe on your favorite podcast app.